Welcome to the Warning Track Power Hour. I am Dr. Andrew Scaff. He is Dr. Michael Worman, Esquire. On today's show, we'll talk about the Kansas City Royals getting ready for the regular season to kick off later this week. Well, today, by the time this episode airs, we'll give some predictions for our season win totals for some various teams around Major League Baseball. I think we'll briefly touch on the NFL offseason, but there wasn't a whole lot going on, so just a few things to mention there, if anything, if we even feel like it, I guess.
You'll find out, dear listener.
Yes, even we don't know sometimes.
Yeah, we change our minds, at the drop of a hat.
Sometimes
Because
on
our
the fly,
opinions, yeah, we
mid-show.
do what we like. It's our own show. Nobody can tell us what to do. Not even our legions of producers and backers and executive producers, uh,
Yeah,
directors, uh,
right. Sometimes we don't listen.
handlers, stat guys.
Boys in the truck.
Spotters, all these people.
Yeah.
They,
Yes.
it's
Uh, yeah.
we are
Sometimes.
captains of our own affairs.
There we go. But we will actually start today talking about the NCAA tournament, Mike. We're through the first weekend. Not terribly exciting, pretty chalky overall. What are your initial thoughts on the opening weekend? Are you more impressed with some of the top seeds that have advanced, or has Arkansas, your alma mater, captured your attention?
Well, Arkansas obviously has captured my attention. They beat number two seeded St. John's in the second round after beating your nemesis, the University of Kansas, in the first round, which toppled my Scaff's nightmare bracket, which is was completely busted. But I'm so glad that Arkansas was the team that did it.
Yeah,
Uh,
and that game
and
was tight too. Did you watch the Arkansas Kansas game?
Yeah, that was a close game. In Kansas, I thought when they switched to that zone defense was going to beat Arkansas, but
I think
still
KU
pulled
even
it
took the
out.
lead relatively late, but
Mhm.
then the Arkansas took it right back. So
Arkansas pulled away at the end. They figured it out, or went cold, kind of a combination. Um,
yeah,
but yeah, St. John's. I think I don't know if I mentioned this on air. Or I'd seen the stat that St. John's was like the second worst 3-point shooting team in
yes,
the tournament, and I think that's what cost them because once they got behind, they really couldn't come back
right.
very easily. So like they're not a team that could take the lead by shooting threes. Arkansas didn't particularly play that well from 3-point land, but they were, I think, once they got ahead and they were usually managing to stay ahead most of the game. I think St. John's did make a comeback a little bit, but I think maybe took the lead at one point, but Arkansas, once they pulled ahead again, St. John's couldn't catch up. So it was the John Calipari led Razorbacks over the Rick Pitino led Red Storm. And so, yeah, I think St. John's was the only number two seed not to make the Sweet 16. All four number one seeds made it. Seven out of the 14 SEC teams made it to the Sweet 16. So I guess it wasn't wrong to put so many SEC teams in the tournament.
But they aren't randomly assigned, so they didn't really face each other. So they had some advantage there, I guess.
Yeah, but they still beat their opponents, so that's uh
But I mean, if you randomly put 14 teams in a bracket, you would think some of them could face each other relatively early,
yeah, I think they try not to
minimizing
have
the chance
yeah.
that so many would make it through.
Yeah.
They would weed each other out, but they were kept away from each other, I think, more than
Mhm.
I mean, and that's usually how they try to do brackets, is they try to make it so the conference teams don't meet each other yet
Yeah.
again because they just face each other up to three times, in the
Mhm.
previous like 3 months, right?
Yeah. So there are looks like there's only one all SEC Sweet 16 match, and that is going to be Kentucky versus Tennessee, a 2-3. Um, but there were Also, I think no SEC, all SEC second round matchups either. So, uh,
Right.
but that's also maybe partly luck of the draw or luck of the who beat whom, maybe too. I have to look at the bracket more closely, but yeah, uh, so yeah, none of these teams that are in the Sweet 16 though are from non-Power Four conferences.
Right.
I don't even think the Big East even didn't have any Sweet 16 teams
Yeah, because
because
UConn dropped out and
Marquette lost,
St. John's didn't make it.
St.
Yeah.
John's, yeah. Um, so there are, yeah, 16 teams.
Villanova, I think they were already out too, right?
Villanova wasn't in it, I don't think. I think they
At
missed the
all?
tournament
Was that
this
right?
year.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh yeah, they were not. Yeah,
Creighton lost to Auburn in the second round, so they're out too.
they won the first round game against their eight seed,
Louisville,
right? Yeah.
ACC Louisville. I think Duke is the only ACC team that's in the
Florida, Florida's SEC anyway, right? Yeah.
or is SEC.
Yeah.
Uh, Big 12 has Texas Tech and Houston and BYU. So
And BYU.
three Big 12 teams. I was one who predicted BYU over Wisconsin in the 6-3 matchup, so that was one of my uh,
Yeah.
big
So
wins.
Arizona, they're out too, aren't they?
Arizona's in it.
Arizona's still there, right?
Yeah. So four Big 12 teams, seven SEC, four Big 12. I guess that leaves four Big 10 and one ACC.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
four out of seven Big 12, though, four out of 10 um, Big 10. So the SEC, so the Big 10 is not represented as well as the Big 12 was.
Well, they're both 16, right? Aren't
I
they?
think Big 12 is 18. I mean, Big 10
Or
is 18.
18?
Big 10 is 18 teams, I think, with the addition of Oregon,
Yeah.
Washington, um,
Is it 18? Yeah, that sounds right, actually.
Oregon, Washington, UCLA, and USC.
Yeah.
So, yeah,
And
I
how much
think
does it annoy you that the numbers are never correct on the conference
it's
names?
somewhat annoying. I guess that's why they have the prefix or the word big, because I guess if it's Big 12, it's bigger than 12. It's really a Big 12, which
But it wasn't for a while. It was under then.
mhm. Yeah, it
The
was
Big
10
12.
for so many years.
There were quite a few years where it was only 10 guys. And there was a conference called the Big Ten that almost never had 10.
It had 10 for a while, and then it had 11 for Penn State for a very long time, and then
A
now
long,
it's
long time. And they added Nebraska. Then they added a bunch. Yeah.
yeah.
But there was a time, though, where the Big 12 had 10 schools and the Big 10 had 12 schools.
Yeah, that was a good one.
Obviously, this makes a lot of sense.
Yes.
But
Well,
our different methodologies have been going head to head in our
they have.
bracket versus bracket challenges.
Yes.
And it has played out
To my
un
advantage so far.
but kind of uninterestingly though, wouldn't you say?
Interestingly to me, because I'm winning, but uh,
Yeah. But like the brackets that have done best are like the Ken Palm rankings and the net rankings. It's not a blend of rankings that have done best. Like, our own picks are sort of like, taking information from different sources and then sort of blending them into our own overall methodology.
yeah.
You would kind of hope that some of those would actually play out better. Or just like following like the populist sort of, what are the popular picks? Sometimes that works out better, which it ended up doing on the women's side, I guess, right? The populist bracket actually is
Yeah, the
winning
pocket
our
bracket is the best one. Uh, I, my bracket's doing pretty well. I'm in the 90th percentile, something like that.
yeah.
89.9 percentile, my lone bracket. It's beating chalk. I guess we didn't do the rankings systems brackets
We use
in.
the ESPN rank, which I think is essentially BPI.
Okay.
The ESPN Smart Bracket one is essentially, I think,
Okay.
what is their equivalent to their
Yeah.
BPI.
Yeah, but my lone bracket is beating them. Basically, the methodology that I used was I picked higher seeds to win most of the games, and then if there were upsets or something like that, I picked the team with a better NCAA women's basketball pedigree to do a little bit better. So some of the 5-4s I got right because um, I picked Tennessee to beat Ohio State because Tennessee historically is a better team on the
Blue
women's side
Bloods.
than Ohio State. And I did, what was the other one that I did? Um, Another 5-4. Um, I got something. I picked Kansas State over Kentucky. I got that one right. That was my big upset too. I picked K-State over Kentucky. I did Ole Miss. No, I did um I missed the Baylor Ole Miss because Baylor I was historically better than Ole Miss, but they didn't make the 5-4. I picked Maryland over Alabama in the four. That was just a random. So I got most of the 5-4, which I think were tricky. Um, and then then I just picked chalk basically.
Yeah.
And that's I think the women's bracket is almost always more predictable than the men's bracket because I think there is more parity in men's basketball than there is in women's basketball. Um, that might change with uh,
Am I reading this right though? The worst seed to advance in the women's bracket is a 5 seed.
I think so. Yeah,
So that's
you're right. Yeah, no
it's
six
only
and
one
one.
off chalk then. Right.
Yes, yes, yeah.
Or,
So
no, it was 3 5 seeds made it.
3 5 seats made it. Yeah,
So it's three off chalk, I guess, right? But
yeah.
wow. Yeah. But the worst seed is a 5. The three of them made
And the
it.
closest 6-3 game was 11 points.
Ooh, yeah, that one was 30. There's a
Very
big difference apparently between
top top three, four, five. Yeah, it's there's a big fall off, I guess. I'm not exactly sure.
yeah. So I mean, I guess really what that says is that there are probably like 12 teams that are really contending for this from the beginning, but the field is much larger than that. Yeah.
Mhm.
No.
Well,
Anyway.
do you have any? So you predict who did you predict in your bracket to win it all? You picked. Let's so we can see what we we're not going to make any individual bets this week, but maybe we will for the final four. Uh,
Yeah. So I had Duke winning mine. I think you ended up going with Houston, I think, for
I ended up going with Houston
your
just to be a little
bracket.
different and also picking a Big 12 team to win. So I picked Houston uh, in the Final Four because also Final Four is going to be played in San Antonio. So I thought
Mhm.
Houston might have a bit of a home court advantage if they made it that far. So that's one reason I picked Houston as well. Uh, I didn't do my classic which which team was closer to the
Yes.
venue where they're playing each game this time, but I used that methodology for who was going to win the Final Four. So I thought the crowd would be on Houston's side. Um,
Yeah. Yeah. The areas that I had some upsets didn't go well. So I had sort of like localized upsets in different sections of the bracket, and especially on like the side like where like I had Duke winning their region. I had a lot of upsets like underneath them. It's like I don't really, it doesn't really matter what they do because I think Duke's going to move on, so I can pick a lot of upsets there, and it won't actually affect the larger bracket then once you get deeper into the tournament.
mhm.
But I missed a lot of time,
Yeah,
which is unfortunate. But
it's hard to predict these things. So, what about your who'd you pick to win the women's championship?
ooh, I had UConn winning it.
I also had UConn, so I'm ahead of you right now. So basically, it's I probably won't be able to lose uh,
It would be difficult for me to come back, I
come
guess,
back. Yeah,
because
yeah. Since I
you did quite well in the early rounds and with the same final. So
yeah, I thought you might pick South Carolina.
well, now knowing that you had picked UConn, I should have picked something.
I picked UConn. I thought they were the best. I was surprised they were number two seed. I think they have the Caitlin Clark of this year's tournament with Paige Buckles. So, uh,
Beckers,
mhm,
yeah,
yeah,
yes, yes, yep, yeah. So sort of yeah, returning
Buckers. Yeah,
UConn,
no, let's say Buckles. Yeah, Buckers.
yeah. I think it's Beckers, but
Beckers is how they say it.
I think that's how I say it.
Beckers.
Yeah,
Yeah, I haven't watched. This is much shows how much I've watched women's basketball this year. So I don't even know the main
it's
players,
fine.
like how they pronounce it. But
Yeah, but what is um I think a consolation, at least anyway, that the in both men's and women's brackets are like essentially coin toss brackets did terribly in
oh
both men's
yeah,
and women's. So that's good, right? Like so if you just randomize a bracket, that's you're not going to have much success. Like you need some kind of methodology, not just a coin toss to
hmm
get you very far into the bracket successfully. Do you find that encouraging, or
I guess. Well, I think
or do you?
random brackets are best. Like you're usually going to do is 50-50, and you usually know that a one is going to beat a 16 99% of the time. So you're
Yeah.
basically handicapping yourself for a lot of these if you're doing random. So basically, I think below a 5-12, probably anything up like 5-12 is about where you start. I think maybe you can almost say it's random, because
Mm.
there always are some 12-5 up. I think there were two 12-5 upsets this go around. I think Colorado State was a 12, and I think
The state, I think,
McNeese
was in the
State
12.
was a 12. So
But it is, I think, every year a 12 beats a five.
yeah.
At least one 12 beats
Mhm.
a five.
And I think seven in the seven tens historically, I think the tens have won more than the seven has.
They actually have an advantage in
And
the long run.
9-8 is a coin flip, literally.
Yeah.
And so yeah, that's but then the second round is a little less, I think sometimes a little less wild, but sometimes but maybe it's usually a little more wild than this year, but sometimes I think it's first round's usually the most wild. And then
Yeah.
um usually settles down.
But no real Cinderellas this year. Is that do you find that a little sad, or do you not really do you not really care for the Cinderella stories?
I don't really like the Cinderellas that much. I like the good teams to I like the best teams to win.
Yeah.
No, I want to see the best basketball be played, but I don't mind an occasional Cinderella. This is not one of my teams. If it's one of the teams I don't really care for, uh, uh, yeah, it doesn't. I don't know. Sometimes I like it, but sometimes I just think they're not really like they don't deserve to win. They
Uh,
aren't very good, but I do like it occasionally. First round upsets are kind of fun, but
yeah.
then once it goes on,
You kind
I
of want it
don't.
to settle down at some
I
point.
want it to settle down, and because I
Yeah.
don't usually pick a lot of upsets too, so it usually goes against my bracket. So I don't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think this season seemed like it maybe settled down a little bit too early though. So I like having at least a couple of, you know, high seeds somewhere in there, high number
hmm
seeds in there, at least on this week, the second weekend of the tournament. Otherwise, it's just a little too jockey, and that's not as interesting to me, I guess. I root for the underdogs though, Mike. That's
You do. Yeah. I'm
yeah,
I sometimes I don't know. I sometimes do, but I get tired of it too. I don't want too much
yeah.
chaos in the bracket.
I want more chaos. That's all
Want more
I'm saying.
chaos.
I think they should limit the number of major conference schools that make it into the tournament. Like there should never be 14 SEC schools. There
I
should
do
be
think
like
14s was a little high,
it's too many.
especially I don't know. I thought the Big 12 deserved more than seven. So
Yeah.
and partly that was it's controversial North Carolina inclusion. North Carolina did
Yeah.
win the first round, but then they lost in the real tournament, I guess you could call it the
Yeah. But I
uh,
mean, I'd almost rather not see any like major school be even at an 11 seed. Like it should be like 1 through 10. And anybody below,
Uh, I was,
tens like should not be major
yeah,
conferences.
I guess I was happy Arkansas made it in. They just scraped by getting a 10. So if they had
Yeah.
been 11 though, I would have been happy. So I was just rooting for, I didn't want Arkansas to miss out
Yeah.
if possible because I didn't actually think Arkansas was going to make it. I thought they would only take like 9, 10 maybe tops SEC schools.
Yeah.
Uh,
We talked about that on this
yeah,
show. I think
it took
2 weeks
14.
in a row before leading up to the tournament.
Yeah,
And here we are. They're still in it.
here we
So
are.
not only did they make it, but they're still in it.
Still in it. Well, I guess that's why maybe that's why they should have made it. So
Yeah.
you said get hot at the right time, and I think probably Calipari's a really good coach. And Arkansas at the beginning of the season was ranked in the top 25. They just had some injury issues and just some bad luck, I think. And they beaten because they beat Kentucky and who's still in it as a 3 seed, I think. Um, and yeah, they've done pretty well. So I'm happy for them.
Yeah.
This is the best they well, actually under Eric Musselman they had several good seasons in a row. Um, and then Musselman left to coach USC, who I believe did not make the tournament, did they? They did in the
Oh,
women's. They were number one seed in the women's, but I don't think they made the tournament.
yeah.
There's only 16 and 17 this year.
That's
Uh,
not great.
yeah, Musselman last year was only 16 and 17 in Arkansas. So, but the previous 3 years, he had two consecutive Elite Eights and a Sweet 16. So and possibly so Arkansas has been pretty good in the last several years uh, for the tournament. So they've done pretty well. So maybe they can, maybe with Calipari they could work their way to a Final Four here or there. I don't think, I don't think that's out of the question. Maybe not
What
this year.
also what also seems like they justified, the change in coaching then too, right? If they had multiple years of deep tournament runs and then a season of not, and then they managed to pick up Calipari.
Yeah.
That's seemingly big change anyway. So yeah, but yeah, do you think this shift towards the SEC like being this competent at basketball is related directly to the NIL and the transfer portals?
Um, It's a little odd because in some ways it made the SEC a little bit less dominant in football because I think some more of the NIL money, because I think it seems like Big Ten has more money maybe in terms of endowments and big schools than the SEC does even. Uh,
I don't think
so
that's not where the NIL money comes from. No, it's from the schools
I know,
directly.
but schools have a
Yeah,
lot of it, and then like boosters and alumni and stuff like that. But
yeah.
I think
But before it was that I think the boosters were contributing a lot to the football programs, but now that it's like more open, but maybe the money gets spread around more, and
yeah,
and it seems like the basketball side of the SEC has benefited quite a lot from it because they were not really considered basketball conferences like in like schools within the conference like at all, and now they've got a lot of teams
yeah,
going deep into
know.
the tournament.
Yeah, yeah. It could just be year to year. I think we'll have to wait a few more years to see if it's a trend or if it's just a blip. But
Yeah. I mean, it seems like it's growing, right?
yeah,
Because last year they were pretty good too, but now even better.
should
We'll see.
we'll
Yeah.
see. We will see. We'll see what happens with the Sweet 16 and the Elite Eight, and we'll talk about the Final Four next week here on the Warning Check Power Hour. We'll see how our brackets are doing, and we'll see that see how they are doing on the women's side as well as the men's side. So that we'll leave that to next week. So you want to talk a little bit? We weren't sure if we are going to talk NFL. You want to talk briefly about the NFL? I think there's one bit of news maybe that we might want to talk about, and that is the Russell Wilson signing to the New York Football Giants. 1 year, 10.5 million. I think you said before we went on there that his incentives possibility up to 21 million. So pretty cheap for a starting quarterback. Does this mean that the Giants probably aren't going to draft a quarterback, or are they going to draft somebody as a kind of a longer term prospect, you think?
well, it was only a 1 year deal, so it doesn't seem like they've settled on anybody for a long term anyway. So yeah, I think their odds of drafting somebody are awfully high. Probably maybe more insurance that they're going to draft somebody relatively high, I would think, at the quarterback position. Unless they plan on bringing someone else in also. Because I think there had been talks that
Yeah.
Aaron Rodgers may be having some kind of open-ended offer for him to join there also. Do you think that's done then at this point? Now they've signed Russell Wilson. Do you think that ends that chance that Aaron Rodgers will also be there?
I think so. I don't. Yeah, I can't see him competing as Russell Wilson or Russell Wilson being another. It's another kind of Justin Fields situation, and
Yeah, you
I don't see that. I don't
don't
see
really want to
that
see
happening.
that.
Fields, I guess, is in New York as well, but he's at the Jets. Um, I
Right.
think Aaron Rodgers, it seems like, is probably best destined to be Pittsburgh or Minnesota,
Minnesota possibly, but
possibly Tennessee if they don't draft Cam Ward. But um, I think those seem to be the likely because it seems like because the Raiders found their quarterback with
Smith.
Geno Smith. Who are the Seahawks? They got Sam Darnold.
Yeah,
Um, there aren't that many teams left that need a starter right now
not really.
because I think
But at
the
least don't have at least that don't have like a competent number one
or like an up
on
and coming like
paper.
Drake May is going to be the starter probably in New England. That's where actually
Mm.
Stephon Diggs is possibly signing with New England, but um, so they have some hopes there. But and
Yeah, so what do you think is more likely right now? Do you think Aaron Rodgers will be signing with somebody, or do you think he's maybe more likely to be done, or at least take a year off?
I don't think if he takes a year off, I think he's done. I don't think he's going to come back at 43 or whatever without playing at 42 or
You wouldn't
whatever his
think so.
age is, 41. I don't know how old he is. It's
Nah,
even with the ayahuasca treatments and things like that. I don't think he's going to skip a year. I think this is probably his last year. Um,
his last shot at it.
yeah, I would say Minnesota. It's a little bit. He's mirroring the Brett Favre, uh, how Favre went from Green Bay to New York, and then
Yes,
and then to
to Minnesota.
so maybe he'll do the same.
Doesn't
Um,
seem like Minnesota should want to do that though, right? They drafted JJ McCarthy last year.
yeah, McCarthy's still pretty young, and he's coming off an injury, and
Yeah,
I would say
but
that
still, I mean, like you took him in the first round. You knew he was injured, so you planned to have him sit there so he could like sort of, learn for a year without risking additional injury. It seems like, now that he's supposedly healthy, that you'd want to go ahead and throw him in there. It's not like he's never seen the NFL before now that he's watched from the sideline at least.
Mhm.
It seems silly to draft a guy in the first round and then not have the intention of having him be the starter, especially bringing in Aaron Rodgers would mean that there's no chance that he's going to be a starter unless Aaron Rodgers like immediately gets injured like he
Yeah,
did
which is
yesterday.
possible. Yeah, then you pay him a bunch of money for not playing.
Yeah. I mean, I think like contract wise, they do have like insurance policies that if someone does get injured, they can at least write off the injury on
Hmm.
paper, but they still, have to spend the money. There's some kind of
Yeah.
recovery mechanism though for at least, on paper with the league.
Hmm.
But you don't plan for that scenario when you're signing the contract, right?
No, no, you don't. You don't. You plan for. I guess you hope for the best. Maybe you plan for the worst. What was that?
Yeah,
Is that the expression?
I
Uh,
think so. Yeah.
but I don't think that's the intent. I don't think anybody intends for that to happen. But
No.
you do have probably worst case scenario, and this is maybe one reason why the Chiefs picked up Gardner Minshew in case uh, Mahomes gets hurt. In some ways, maybe Minshew is a little bit like Mahomes in that he kind of is a little bit of an improviser, much more than I think the backups that the Chiefs have had over the last few years, who are much more kind of system guys, steady guys. I think with Minshew, he's a little more of a gunslinger, a little bit more like Mahomes in a lot
Yeah.
of ways.
But with some
So
mobility though too.
yeah,
Like
yeah,
also like Mahomes. So they're
yeah,
similar style quarterback, which means your offensive line doesn't have to like completely change the game plan if you have to go from your one to your two.
yeah.
So maybe that makes things a little bit easier for game planning out the
Hmm.
season in the worst case scenario.
Yeah, yeah. Well, speaking of, I guess, worst case scenarios, what do you think the worst case scenario is for the Royals this year? The Royals actually finished 20-12 in the Cactus League at a 625 winning percentage. That would be good for a 101-60 record, just about in the regular season. You think the Royals are going to challenge for 100 wins, or are they going to struggle to make it over 80 wins, something around there? So what do you think about the Royals' chances this year? Maybe we'll talk about the Royals' chances, and then we can talk briefly. I want to talk about one other thing about the Royals that you are not a fan of, and that is their rumored move to Overland Park. At least that was the rumor. That's the most recent rumor is where they're moving. But uh,
Right.
or do you want to talk about the rumor, or do you want to talk about the Royals' chances first? Which
Well, we can kind of blend them together. 'Cause I would say, something like, the high end of what you'd expect for the Royals to be, contending for the division lead. Worst case scenario is they probably, go revert to the previous year and lose something like 100 games, but then also, sign a deal to move to Oakland Park. That to me would be the worst case scenario. You have a terrible season and you resign yourself to playing in a suburb of the lesser of the two states.
yes, yes, I think
And
you know
and
why.
and not anywhere near a population center too, right? So it's not
Well, I guess
you're
if
not
you're
improving your location essentially.
well, I guess maybe you're putting it closer to more ticket buyers. Maybe you think the wealthier side of this of the metro area is a little better. I don't know. It seems a little too Atlanta Bravesy to me when they moved their stadium from downtown to the lily white suburbs. Uh,
No,
and I think if they want a suburb, a team or a stadium that's not downtown, they should probably just keep it where it is. I think that's
yeah,
easy to get to, and I don't.
people have been going there since 1970, so
Yeah,
72,
yeah. I think they need to be
whatever.
downtown somewhere. At least if you want to build a downtown stadium, if you want to move, you should go downtown. If they aren't going to move, if they
Yeah,
don't, if if they want to
well, because
move
that
someplace that's basically just suburban, I don't. That's lame.
well, I mean, if you're gonna put it suburban, you may as well just put it by the airport so people can get in and out. So like the other team's players and the Royals themselves can have easier access to the stadium from their airline. You know,
Mm.
that would make more sense, at least on paper, than some of the things that they've talked about doing.
Yeah, yeah. It would make much more sense. But as you say, the Royals don't always make a lot of sense. Maybe the signing of uh,
Mark Canna this
Mark
week,
Hanna recently, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense. It's another Garrett Hampson kind of
but
signing.
much older in playing positions they don't need backup in.
Frazier, yeah, Adam Frazier signing, things like that.
Yes,
Um, Somebody who's a veteran, but not necessarily an improvement over what a younger player could bring.
right. But it's just, potentially taking at bats away from a player they need to evaluate more, or, at least have a space open for their future star like Jack Caglione, since Canada plays the same positions that Caglione would play.
And they
Why
already
would you
have,
why would you bring another guy in to potentially get in that way? That's what I don't understand
and
at
they already
all.
had Velasquez, who they didn't, I guess, didn't want to keep around. But they also have, you know, Pasquantino there, and Salvi's going to play there.
Right.
a lot. So, and if Pagliano
Machado
comes
was
up, that's his position
like
too.
that too. Yeah.
Yeah, anybody can play first, it seems like. Yeah.
Yeah, they've had a lot of guys playing first, so a lot of different players have played first in the last couple of years. So I don't think they're not struggling to find coverage for the position. So it seems like, yeah, the Marquina signing is surprising. I mean, they got him for essentially nothing. I think it was a player to be named or cash. That's an option even. So it's even funnier, right? When you hear it that way.
Yeah, yeah. Player to be named
Player to be named
or
or
cash.
cash.
Maybe yeah, we'll see if we like any players, but we might just take a few $100 for your trouble.
Yeah.
And sometimes those cash considerations are so much, it's not very much money at all, like 50 grand or something like, which seems, it's a lot of money for, an average person, but for like a major baseball team, it's not really, it's
Yeah.
enough for, I don't know.
But does that mean that like if you were able to like, scrape together like 50 grand that you could acquire a near major league player to like come mow your lawn or something every day? I
Sounds
guess.
like the ill-fated Seinfeld pilot, the Jerry's when it became his butler when he couldn't pay for the car insurance.
Right.
Well, yeah, because he had the
Or
accident.
was it result of a car accident?
He was out of the car accident because he didn't have insurance, so he had to become Jerry's butler.
Right.
And yeah, it was
Basically that.
basically that. Yeah, yeah.
But yeah. But
And
that has been a recurring theme, at least in our discussions here on the Warning Track Power, is the competence of the Royals organization. Some of the trying to make sense of some of the moves that they make. So this fits right in with that, Mark Cannon.
Mark Hamill, yes.
But he did make the opening day roster though, Mike. Does that surprise you? They signed him a week ago. He's on the roster.
No, it doesn't surprise me. It doesn't,
I like
frankly.
I like this. I like the sigh there before.
Yeah. No, nothing the Royals do in that. Like they really want to like m have this mediocre has as many mediocre kind of 4A type players as they can find that just clog up the system and are perhaps marginally better than the young players, but are not, they have a higher floor, but they have a definitely a lower ceiling. So they just have a lot
Yeah,
of those players, and they historically have had a lot of those players, and um, it makes the lineup kind of weak, I think. So it's not my favorite for sure, but I am optimistic more or less about the Royals' chances this year. I think because they have Bobby Witt and they have Pasquantino healthy and, Salvi and I think Jonathan India will play well, plus a great pitching staff, both bullpen and starters. I think they'll challenge for a playoff spot again this year. So, do you want to switch? Do you want to talk about the over-unders for the Royals? Uh,
sure.
I believe the over-under for the Royals win total is 82 and a half. So if they
That's
go
right.
83 and 79, they would be over. So I'm predicting them to go over.
They did win 86 games last season, so the over/under number is expecting at least some reversion, I guess, to the mean.
Yeah, yeah. So I think yeah, I
So they're
think
they're like they're like the odds makers aren't having them on a rocket ship to the moon, right? This is they're actually expecting some reversion.
mhm.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, but the Royals, I think, should have done better than they did last year because in the Pythagorean ratings. So I think they should have been like a
right.
91 or 92 win team rather than a 86 and 76 team. So
Yeah.
maybe they're due for actually an increase. But I think the pitching staff is as good. I think the starters will be as good as last year. Without Waka, you have Waka and Lugo back. Without Singer, I guess, but I think Lorenzen and Bubic and some of the other guys have a chance to be as solid as Singer. But I think the lineup maybe is a little bit better with another year from Witt and Pasquantino and Jonathan. I think India is a slight upgrade over their other infield bats. Uh, So
Well, so
that's
really, it ends up being that that Massey ends up being a better bat than Melendez. That's
that's
supposedly
true.
what we're looking at then, I guess, right? Because if India takes over at second, they're similar players, Massey and India,
Hmm.
but that displaces Massey from second base to the outfield, which
Yeah,
might help minimize some of Melendez's poor hitting and questionable
fielding.
defense.
Yeah, it also might. It's possible it might minimize some of Massey's wear and tear too. I think infield seems to be a little more taxing than outfield in terms of injuries and things like that. I
And
don't.
maybe that like that twisting to throw to first that
Mhm.
may have some put some additional stress on his back too, which seems to be the recurring issue with him, especially in a sport where you have to swing a bat all the time too. It's a lot. Your back is being pretty valuable, wouldn't you say?
I would say yes,
Yes,
pretty valuable. Um,
yes.
what do you think the Royals' chances of finishing 82 above 82 and a half wins? Are you bullish or bearish on their chances there?
I'm slightly bearish on them right now, but I think it's the same kind of thing that I had done last year. It's like I think I'll take the under 82 and a half. I expect it to be right around 500. But I'd also like to be pleasantly surprised and have them win a lot more games than and lose this bet. But I think for betting purposes, I'm going to take the under.
Hit the under. Okay, so Mike over, Andrew under on the Royals. As tradition has it, we also picked three other teams to predict win loss totals over under in Major League Baseball. So let's start with those. Uh, Dr. Scaff, what is your first non-Royals team that you're going to go? So are you more confident in your Royals picks or are you more confident in your other team picks? 'Cause you know less about those other teams, but do you think that
True.
makes you less informed about over-unders, or does that maybe too much knowledge might cloud your judgment, or you're a homer, you want to maybe you second guess yourself a little bit more. Maybe you can think more clearly about these other teams, but you don't know as much about them either.
That's true. So yeah, I think I'm fairly uninformed actually for some of these. And our history with picking these over-unders in baseball has not been so great, really. Like this has been more of a random number generator situation than we'd probably like it to be. Teams sometimes may start out looking good or bad and then have it completely flip during the season. So these bets, might look good or bad at any time during the season and may end up the complete opposite direction as it goes. But I don't know. I don't know. I would say I'm not very confident in my picks here, though, Mike. But I'm going to make them anyway.
Gonna make them anyway. Well, we have to. That's part of our deal here at the Winter Power. You have to make four over/under picks, one of which is the Royals.
I'll know that's it. So my first pick, I'm gonna go. I'm gonna look at the New York Yankees, and we know they've lost Juan Soto. So that means Aaron Judge doesn't have as much protection in the lineup. They also know one of their top starters is out for the year already, Garrett Cole. I'm gonna take the under on them on the season win total at 88 and a half
Ooh.
wins. So I'm expecting them to not get 89 wins or more.
So the Max Fried signing doesn't shift you anyway.
That is absolutely nothing for me, Mike.
Hmm.
I don't think that matters much. Plus, he only starts once every 5 days, so even if he's like
Yeah,
great, they still need four other starters to hold down the fort
that
to get
is
anywhere
true.
close to 90 wins. But 90 wins isn't crazy. It's not a crazy number of wins,
Hmm.
which is the moment. But they are the Yankees, but they're in a tough division.
Yeah, I could see that. Yeah, they're a tough division. I could also see them going over too. So I'm not. Yeah, I don't. I wouldn't count the Yankees out for going over. I would
Yeah,
again. That was one team I didn't pick because I was too unsure about them. Uh, the team that my first team that I picked besides the Royals, was the the Pittsburgh Pirates. Traditionally, that's the team that I've been rooting for most since moving out here to Frostburg, Maryland. We are actually the closest in proximity to the Pirates. Also, they're a National League team, so they don't really play the Royals too much. And my girlfriend MJ lives in Pittsburgh, and I go to the games every once in a while in Pittsburgh. I saw the Royals beat the Pirates in early September last year, so I was a fun game to go to. So Pittsburgh, I think, was they won 76 games last year, I believe. Uh,
Correct.
and their over under is basically that this year, 75 and a half. So I'm picking Pittsburgh to do as well as they did last year, uh, at least. So Pittsburgh over 75 and a half. I don't know who Pittsburgh has as their new players. I don't know who they've signed in the offseason, but I think Pittsburgh, they're usually not too bad. They've been better the last few years than they were the previous few years, I think. So they're kind of like the Royals. They're kind of like the National League's version of the Royals. And I think they can uh I think they can make the 76 wins.
Well, all they do is just, yeah, hold the ground that they had last year, right? They don't have to they don't have to be any better. They just don't have to be any worse, which seems like it's not as difficult to strive for, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Well, I do want to ask you though, what do you think of their City Connect jerseys? Do you like the PGH abbreviation for Pittsburgh that they use?
I don't mind. Yeah, it's common. It's a commonly used abbreviation,
Yeah,
PGH. Um, so yeah, I don't mind at all. I like,
yeah.
yeah,
I always
PGH.
thought PIT would be a more common
Yeah,
abbreviation, but
PGH is the airport code.
yeah, yeah,
So I don't know why they have chosen PGH, but it could be PIT.
yeah.
There is the new show on Max called The Pit, which
The
is
pit.
which is based in University of Pittsburgh Medical System.
Yeah.
Um, so which I've watched some of. It's a little ER like.
In that it
Got
has like
Noah
no,
Wiley in
also
it.
has no Wiley.
Yeah, as a doctor.
I've seen the first couple episodes of it. It's in like a 24 photo format though too, right? It's supposed to be like a real time passage of one day. Did you notice that?
Yes, yes,
Yeah.
yeah. I did
So
notice
it's like
that.
it's 24 meets ER. So we're back in like 1990s television era with the pit.
Hmm.
So we didn't know we were going to do a TV review today, but we both have seen that first couple episodes of that show. So
Yeah.
it ended up being a special TV review
TV review.
section
Yeah,
segment.
TV review. I did actually watch more Winning Time and Running Point, but I those episodes are blurred together now, and I don't remember what happened. So
Yeah, I've seen the second and third episodes of Running Point, and I think it is kind of getting worse. Actually, was that what you thought of it too, or is it are the characters endearing themselves to you, or are you not enjoying it?
I don't. No, I'm not really enjoying it that much. None of the characters are endearing themselves. I guess I like the kid who was the turns out to be the like the young the boss, the son of the boss and the housekeeper. I kind of like,
Yes, right.
but it's not. I don't find the other characters very endearing or likable. So
The thing I always like that is like annoying in shows that have characters that are created like this is that they're both simultaneously very good at their jobs, but also completely incompetent. I don't ever understand how a person can be both of those two things, and then having like an
yeah,
entire family of those people doesn't make sense to me.
we're both yeah. Well, it's what they say
It's
about like they say about immigrants. They're both stealing our jobs and also very lazy. So
it doesn't make
you
sense,
can
Mike.
be two things at once in this world. So
Yes. No. All
hmm.
right. So you got
I
Pittsburgh.
didn't mean to get all political on you.
Yeah, that's fine. We did take our TV diversion for the
We did. We
for
did.
the episode. Yes, we didn't know we were doing. Again, we have autonomy.
Hmm.
Do you want your next pick, or do you want me? Should I take mine?
I think we've done each done two. So it's
Yeah. Is it my turn?
Oh,
Or do you want to
it's
go
your
next?
turn, but I can go first as well. I
Yeah,
can go. I'm gonna stick. I'm gonna go back to the AL Central. I'm not exactly sure who's gonna win the Central, but I know the White Sox are picked last, and they lost was 120,
121 games last year.
21 games last year, 41 and 121. Their over under is 54 and a half this year, which would be a big step up, but still would be a 55 and 107 would be an over. So I'm actually going over because I think they aren't going to be as bad as they were last year. So I think they'll just be bad, and
Not
I think
historically bad.
I think maybe 60 games bad. So that's
Yeah.
my guess. So I'm picking over for the over 54 and a half.
Well, it's 60 wins. If that's where you think they can end up, that's way over. Like, that's not even close. They have 5 extra wins than they even need.
Yes.
Yeah. And they have purged themselves of a lot of the Royals influence they had before.
Yeah.
I think most of that is gone at this point. So maybe they have a chance to recover
Mhm.
organizationally too. Ugh.
Yeah. Yeah, they got
Well,
those royal. Yeah, the problem was too many royals in their organization. So
former Royals, Royals coaches, Royals organizational people. Yes.
hmm
So remember their GM was Chris Getz
Chris Getz, they had Pedro Grifol as
as
manager.
their manager, and he's gone. So yeah,
Done.
right. Well, you went to a bad team for your third pick. I'm going to go to a bad team for my third pick also. But I'm expecting the Miami Marlins to be actually worse than they were last season. They did lose 100 games last year on a tough division in the East. Phillies, Braves, Mets all seem to be spending a lot of money trying to move up in the division. I think means the wins have to come from somewhere. I think Miami's going to end up taking a lot of extra losses on the season. So they're over under number 63 and a half, which would be an improvement over last season. So if they stay neutral from last year's 62 and 100, they'd still be under what the bookkeepers are expecting. So I'm going to take the under on Miami, 63 and a
Under
half.
on Miami, under 62. So you think they're going to lose more than 100 games?
63 and a half. So if they
63 and
lose,
a half. Oh, you think,
so they
okay.
they could be one game
It could be 99,
better than
63,
a 100
99. They
loss
could be 63
season
or
and
99. Yeah.
still be under their projected win total. Although Fangraphs does have them like quite a bit over that, but I think they overestimate the low ends. Is what it looks like. They don't project anyone to be a hundred loss team, but somebody will lose 100 games. Seems like somebody always loses 100 games.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I don't think Miami's going to contend anytime soon. So I think that's a solid pick.
And that
They
is a tough
they are in the AL East, which is a tough division.
NL East.
NL East, yeah, the NL East, which is tough. I was trying to
Yes.
segue to my team. I'm also picking NL East team as my fourth pick, and that is
Yes.
the Atlanta Braves, who are 93 and a half over under. They actually lost their worst or their best pitcher in Max Fried, I thought. So I'm not sure how they're predicted to be so many wins. Um, and so it seems like I think 93 is a lot. So I think maybe they'll win around 90 games like they usually do, but I think 93 is a lot. 93 and a half is a lot. So I don't think they'll be 94 and 68. So I think they're going to be under that. So I'm going under 93 and a half.
But yeah, so maybe you're thinking that the Mets spending spree may take a few wins away from them also. And the
Yes, I
Braves
think the
only
Mets building spree. Yeah.
the Braves did only win 89 last year too, so their over under number is actually 4 wins higher than their last season total. So like they're you know Vegas is expecting them to have a better season than they had last year.
hmm
Yeah, so if you do think the Mets are going to be improving, then it would make sense, I think, also to take lower wins from.
Hmm.
For the Braves. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
So, so you've gone three overs and one under now. I started with three unders, so I'm also going to go reverse my trend on my last pick.
Oh,
Uh,
okay.
but I'm going to go to the Houston Astros for my final pick. They're projected, their over under totals at 86 and a half wins. Somehow they always seem to win games, even though uh, we don't know how they do it. It seems always some questionable thing around their team. They're probably cheating some way, but they can get over 86 and a half wins, is my guess. So I'm gonna take the over on the Houston Astros for my final pick.
Nice. Even though I don't like Houston because of
I don't like
their
Houston either.
history of cheating, uh, I'm picking Houston to win the basketball tournament, not the Houston Cougars, but the Houston Astros are historically, at least recently, historically, not very honest in their way of they played with their various cheating methods used when they won the World Series. I think was it 2017 or something like that, and they've been back in the playoffs since then. So
Immediately after,
yeah. So yeah,
yeah,
what was their over under number? 88 and a half or 86?
86 and a half.
86 and a half.
And let's see, last year they won 88 games and won the division. And that was after they had a terrible start to the year too. They had a yeah, they were not looking good, but still ended up winning the division.
Yeah, okay.
So that's always one of those things where, the team can start out poorly and still end up winning the division. The season is so long,
Yeah, yeah. Um,
but it's finally about to start.
it
Thursday,
is, it is. So we have
opening day.
The Royals and opening day and baseball about to start. We have the final four about to be unveiled as well in basketball. So it's those things are maybe big things for next week that we can talk about. The NBA and NHL are getting closer and closer to the playoffs. We still have some trickles of NFL offseason news, but um, is there anything else we wanted to talk about, or should we wrap up this week's episode of the Warning Track Power Hour?
Yeah, we're getting a little closer to the draft too, I guess, for the
That's the
NFL.
NFL draft. Yeah,
Yeah.
we'll talk about the NFL draft. That's something we can also talk about here at the
So
Power
we're
Hour.
not there quite yet.
Not there
Yeah.
quite yet, so don't get ahead of yourself, Dr. Scaff.
It is another thing coming up, though. That's all. That was all I was going to add.
Yeah, that's true. Well, yeah. So I guess that wraps up this week of the Morning Track Power Hour, uh, and we have those things to look forward to next week. As always, I am Dr. Michael Werman. He is Dr. Andrew Scaff. We are the Morning Track Power Hour. Please like and or subscribe to our podcast or our YouTube channel. Our podcast is available on many different delivery platforms. Our YouTube channel is available on YouTube,
Oh,
uh, surprisingly enough. And we are very excited about these upcoming weeks. We look forward to seeing what happens. We look forward to seeing how our bets go this season and how our brackets do. And we hope that you do very well if you're making bets this weekend. That your bets do very very well as long as your interests do not conflict with ours, as we always say here at the Power Hour, just like they said in The Godfather, Don Corleone to Virgil Sollozzo. So uh, I don't have anything more to say. So I guess we should sign off and wish you all a good day.